morning. It's 4:15. That's better. In my videos, I do pretend a level of ineptitude, mostly for the benefit of the audience. I'm not going to claim that I'm super intelligent in reality, but I do think about things ahead of time, frequently. I've hinted at it a few times, maybe not even light hints, maybe it was pretty heavy hinted that I would like to take on a large project. Let me get up to speed and then I'll continue. So as I was saying, I've hinted at a large upcoming project, and with any large epic thing that people want to try, there has to be some safety built in, because people can get injured. People could accidentally unalive if they make large enough mistakes. So I want a boat. I've wanted one for a while now, but until I happen to find a winning lottery ticket laying on the ground, my options are pretty limited. I'd rather not take on any more huge debt purchase a boat. I'd rather not purchase a really cheap boat, because you get what you pay for. If you only want a $1,000 boat, you're only going to get a $1,000 boat. The meaning there is, if you only want to pay $1,000, what you're going to get is only worth $1,000. And when it comes to watercraft, just like cars, there's a lot of necessary functionality and safety features that need to be in good condition. So I figure what I can do is look for plans online. I'm accustomed to building some things. I'm no stranger to cross between a cuddy cruiser and a cigarette boat. You know, like 20, 30 feet long, somewhat sleek, capable of going a good piece of distance in a daily use. Going a good distance in a use means it's going to have to be faster, more consistent than a sailboat. It needs to have a motor of some kind. I'm really not that good with gas engines. I've had some experience with owning several pieces of lawn equipment over the years, and I'm not good at remembering to winterize engines on, say, a riding mower or a regular push mower, which is why I mostly stick with battery operated equipment. It has less power than a gas engine. However, it also is very, very expensive. However, it is also simpler. And I feel like, for me, building a system that is simpler from scratch is probably going to be the preferable route. So I work about 38 to 40 minutes away from my house, which means I have time to think about stuff on the morning and evening commute. One of the things I've thought about is what would be the process for building a boat. I've thought about it quite a bit. I've looked for plans, and I've looked for kits, and I've looked for instruction books, and I really can't find anything. Maybe I'm not looking in the right place. My wife will tell you that. As a man, I seldom look in the right place, like for ketchup or, honey, where's the milk? It's right in front of you. I don't see it. That type of a thing. So if there is an instruction book or a kit or a plan set, I don't see it. So I think the next best option is to build the plans myself. As I said before, I'm a draftsman by trade. My company works with AutoCAD for drafting their installation packages. And sometimes what I have to do is draft up the structure of an installation box for DIN control equipment. I also have some experience in drawing house plans, though that's not what I do now as a career. So here's my thought. I make the shape of a boat using 3D Boolean operations in an AutoCAD environment. I make the shape of a boat that I want, and then I use interference commands and shapes to build out repeating structural supports, ribs, if you will. And if I, say, cut the length of it every 18 inches, get the section profiles, there's going to be 20 or 30 of them, and if I take those section profiles and then offset for the width of structural beams, and then maybe take one slice down the middle for the structure of the keel, assuming I picked the right lumber, extra strong, then it won't be too weak. I know a lot of people build boats based on time-honored classical theories and procedures, using wood that is just thick enough, using the right wood. But I also know that there's modern shortcuts to accomplish the same task with newer materials. So I don't have to build it fragile if I build it strong and then make it look pretty. I am definitely not assuming that I'll get it right on the first time. I'm definitely not assuming that I won't make any mistakes. However, I am planning on doing several smaller proof of concept projects ahead of the main epic one, so that I will know how to do the main epic one. So, step 1. Using 3D Boolean operations, I sculpt the outer shape of the boat. I then do section interference cuts to get the profiles every 18 inches. Then I take these profile slices and I build the section plans from there. So then all I have to do is build out these section profiles, fasten them to the keel, and I'll have the endoskeleton of a boat. And then I've asked my wife what she likes better, and I've shown her a few different styles of boat cladding, and she says that what looks prettier to her would be a similar style of boat cladding to, well, I don't know what it's called, because I'm not a boat guy yet. However, I do know where I've seen it. So there's a TV show called NCIS, and in it there's a federal agent. They investigate, they do their crime show, but the agent, his name is Gibbs. In his basement he builds a boat several times during the series, and how he clads his boat is with thin strips of wood that are, they're like steamed and curved along the structure of the boat, and then treated in some kind of way. Well, I don't know that I would trust just treating planks and expecting that will be watertight. So I'm going to be doing that design, the slats, stained slats, so that they keep their honey brown appearance. But on top of that, I'm going to put a few layers of fiberglass fabric and resin, just to maintain the color of the wood and to maintain the watertight nature of the hull. That should give the boat the watertight nature, and it also should keep the wood pretty and visible. And it's also an existing style of boat, so it's not like I'm doing anything brand new. However, you don't often see that style of cladding on a cuddy cruiser or like a cigarette boat. So, I mean, I haven't seen it. So, I don't know that I'm treading new ground, but maybe applying a process to a different style of boat than normal, which is fine as long as it's watertight and it looks how I want. That's really all that matters, because it's not a boat for someone else, it's a boat for me, well, for my family. Also, something I'll have to be considering throughout the process, superstition-wise, is naming the boat. The name of a boat is important, and you really shouldn't name it more than once or change the name once it's been christened. So that's something we're going to be thinking about and talking about throughout. If you can't tell, I have a standard transmission. I know it's below the frame, but you can see my shoulder move. So, and I may offer polls or look for suggestions from the community for names of a boat. It may just be something that I come up with. Maybe I'll ask my 5-year-old to name the boat. She's pretty good at naming things. She has a plush axolotl that she named Alo. I know. She's awesome. So, I may do that. I may think of something. I may use a different process. So as I said at the start of the video, it was 4:15 when I was pulling out of the driveway. And the reason that is because if I want to be able to use my work machine for personal design projects, it has to be off the clock. And my wife has shift work in the evening, and that limits the free time that I can come in. But I can come in extra early to work. Technically my shift doesn't start until 6 a.m. So if I get there an hour or two early, that's time I can be using the work machine for some personal design projects. Now this is going to be, I'm either going to be continuing design version 1.03 or I'll be just starting over on project design 1.04. I'm not sure which. I'm not sure if it matters. Also, if you couldn't tell, I've chose the wrongest way to film myself. I set up a tripod in my car and I put my phone on it. So that's where you are. You're sitting on the top of a tripod that is standing in the footwell of the passenger seat of my car. And that really is not a good way for filming in a vehicle. Really, I should have used like a phone mount, but this is another thing that rules my life. You find the time for for the things that are important to you. I have not found the time to install a new car phone mount after the most recent one suffered a catastrophic self-destruction. I bought a cheap one and thought it would last, but it did not. Maybe it was just sick of me and it went and unalived itself. Maybe. So anyway, that's what the point of this whole video is about. Really, this is the wrongest way to set up and announce an epic build. By sitting in my car and talking to myself on camera while the camera is mounted to a tripod that's just casually set on the floor of the car so that it can bob and sway with every change of aspect that my car experiences.
Are those my fabric scissors?
I can explain.